Hello and welcome to the gun shop. Today we're here to do a review of this, the Browning B725. The particular edition we're going to be doing this is a 30-inch Hunter, or Game Edition, Hunter G1. This is a nice all-rounder, very smart looking gun, not particularly dissimilar to the Clay Edition in any way apart from obviously the standards, the rib, the stock, in every way in fact. But the action block itself remains the same, and that is kind of what this review is for. So, let's start at the back. For a grade 1 gun, firstly, the wood is absolutely fantastic. So the first thing you notice on a lot of the 725s is, although they're called the G1, the grade 1, they do come a cut above. That's because they're expensive. Not being funny, they don't compete with the likes of the Silver Pigeon 1 or the 525 grade 1. They are a cut above price-wise, and that's not all based on engineering. They do add a little bit more aesthetic value to it. So, from the back, we have the Inflex pad for Browning. It's the first time Browning have come out, these things have been around for 4 years now, Browning have come out with an interchangeable pad system, very much Beretta-esque in that department. Interchangeable pad system, so you can get different lengths of your stock. So you can get spaces and everything, and although they don't fit, they're not hand fitted like the old ones were, which I kind of liked as a feature. They work, and they're interchangeable, so you can fit your gun for not serious cash. The wood, a lot slimmer profile than the 525 ever was. Much more sort of Beretta-like in the 690 department, for those of you who hold those, much more like that. Very streamlined, the grip is smaller, the stock is smaller, and actually very pointable in that regard. Doesn't feel the hand like a 525 used to, but that's by the by. Lovely, nice bit of checker in there, and by the look of it, I expect this is hand checkered, much like the old ones were. You can see a few imperfections, but that's the price you pay for having something that's done by, humans. That's always nice. Moving on, we've got a much slimmer action than your standard 525, 325 Maruku grade thing. They've actually streamlined the whole thing from the stock all the way forward to the action. Nicer perhaps, different is probably the best word. For those of you who like a shallower gun, it's nicer. For those of you who don't, it won't be nicer. Everything is just that bit more streamlined. You've got a beautiful bit of engraving on these and on the sporters, and in fact the quality of engraving on them is actually really nice. The pattern's good, the birds are realistic, perhaps a little bit of too much of a mix of modern in there with the design. Perhaps they didn't go quite classic enough, and that's maybe why they haven't been as popular as they should have been really. The fore end is kind of a strange semi-snable, and you've got this kind of very strange angle that goes around the front. Not entirely terrible, but at the same time, I don't know, it is odd. You've got to give it, it is odd. Lovely thin rib, good quality barrels. It is front heavy by nature, as most game guns are, because they put multi-chokes in. These guys run with Invector DS's. We'll pop those out and let you have a little look. Here you go. Very long choke, a very good choke, and you've got this gas tight collar round, so they don't get dirty, they don't stick in, and they sort of don't unwind. Very intelligent idea actually, I really like it. This particular model fitted with a large-ish but quite squat but fat bead sight in nickel, although the sport obviously comes with a high visibility orange bead, or green perhaps, I'm not sure. These are available options there. So it handles alright, it's quite slim. Essentially what happened here, I'll probably get done for libel for saying this, but what they've done is they've kind of taken, a bit like Beretta did when they came up with the 690, they've taken the good bits of Browning and said, well, we'll just make a gun a bit bigger. These guys have taken a good bit of Beretta and gone, let's just make a gun a little bit more streamlined. Everyone complains our guns are too big, but let's keep the old ones, let's make a new one to try and steal a little bit of the market. It's nice, I'm not saying it's not nice. But I think in terms of radical change, they kind of missed a few things. It's not quite as good as the 690 as a counterpart. It's very classic, but the design didn't need changing, in my opinion. And in a lot of people's opinion, the old one was perfect as it was. The key difference here that is actually really nice is they've decided to drop in a mechanical trigger. So unlike the old ones, we have an inertia block that rocks back and forth when you shoot it to change the barrel from one to the other. This one is mechanical, so you can go click, click without there being cartridges in there. More reliable, allows you to use a lot more cartridge variety. These do have a 3-inch chamber, so you can put all manner of stuff in there, and that's pretty good. In actual dimensional reality, we'll chuck it next to this, which is a 325. Obviously very similar to the 525 in terms of dimension. What you'll see here really is you've got a lot more width in the 325 than you do to the 725. In the stock, in the grip is certainly fuller, deeper. The actual space there is deeper than that there. And generally speaking, this is a bulkier gun. However, in the handling, that kind of suits the way Brownings handle and always has done. The 725 is a cracking gun and I'm not knocking it. But, you know, it doesn't float my boat. I'll be quite honest there. It's something that I love the old Brownings. I think that's my problem really. It's just a change that I didn't seem particularly necessary. However, you know, change is great. People love change. It's an absolutely beautiful gun, and they do shoot. They do shoot very, very well. I just think the design, perhaps, of the engraving is a little bit odd. The actual stock and the way the whole thing's become more shallow does make it nicer and sort of a little bit easier to command, but it doesn't fill your hands in the same way a Browning used to. It doesn't kind of, I don't know, it doesn't give me that familiarity that I'm used to, give me that warmth that a Browning used to give me. A bit more clinical perhaps. But people buy it, people love it, and so I'm accepting that I'm probably wrong on that. Beautiful gun. I love the fact it's got interchangeable pads. The Invector DS chokes for multi-chokes are great. They're never going to forge in your gun. They're going to stay very, very clean. It does have a nice profile. It just shouldn't say Browning on it. And that's my honest opinion.